the County Falls City Council meeting for Tuesday, October the 4th to order. Roll call, please. Here. 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 All please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first City Council meeting in October. For the folks at home, if you're having trouble hearing us, we're having some technical difficulties with microphones tonight. We do have a couple tabletop mics. Hopefully they will work good enough, so we may be passing these mics around if people can't hear us. But we will move forward with that. At this time, the chair will take a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Merle, and second by Kathy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Move us on to item 5 this evening, which is public input. Citizens may speak to items not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the minutes, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the council under public input this evening? Seeing as no one wishes to address the council at this time, we'll move on to a presentation tonight by the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. And we'll bring it up Mr. Tim Penny.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a packet for folks here. You can look through this at your leisure. It's a number of documents here that describe different aspects of our work at the foundation. I do appreciate the opportunity to present to council. I was here a few years ago, but haven't been here lately, so it's good to be back. We do work a lot with Dave Maroney and the EDA, and we also have from your area, John Peterson, who serves on our board of directors, and he's a new member of our board, so unless we burn him out, he's going to be with us for 6 years and helping to guide our work in the region. I've been the president of the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation for 8 years now. The foundation came into existence 30 years ago, so next week on Wednesday, October 12th, we're going to have our 30th anniversary luncheon, and we're celebrating about $100 million worth of investments into the central southeastern Minnesota region over that period of time. The packet I gave you, which you can read at your leisure, includes an annual report from 2015, and in that annual report it summarizes so much of our work. There's also a fact sheet on one side of that folder that describes some of our more recent activities in Goodhue County. There's also a couple free fact sheets and a couple brochures that describe our program and work, and again, you can look at that as you have time. Our foundation essentially does 3 things. We have about $5 million per year that we can invest in a 20-county region here in this part of the state. With limited dollars, we can't be everything to everyone, so we really try to be focused. The 3 things we do is we help smaller towns create community funds. As an example, here in your county, Wanamingo and Goodhue have community funds that we help to manage. We also, in flooding in 2010, provided business grant recovery relief to businesses along the Zumbro River Valley, so Zumbro Falls, Mazeppa, Kyle, and some of the smaller towns there, Hammond. And benefit the Zumbro Valley and allow them to have dollars that they can invest into tourist-related projects or other activities that were important for the valley. So that's the kind of thing that a community fund can do. In Rushford, for example, in 2007, there was flooding there. The community fund then became a conduit for a lot of outside aid that came into the community to help them recover from that flooding. But other projects emanate from those community funds. It is all really determined by the towns themselves. What do they want to invest in for the benefit of their town going forward? So keep that in mind, and it's something that could be of value to Cannon Falls. We now have 26 community funds under our umbrella, and we do our best to help them grow and prosper in terms of their investments into their own town. And we also are now in a position where we can take farmland as a donation to a community fund with the intent that we would rent the farmland and allow the annual proceeds after taxes and expenses to go into the community fund budget. So with a lot of people maybe reaching the point where they are not going to continue in farming much longer, this gives them an option if they want to be generous to their local community. So that's community funds. The second thing we do is early childhood investments, and we do between $1.5 million and $2 million of investments in early childhood activity every year. You'll see by the fact sheet there that there are a number of organizations and groups within the county that have received some benefit from either our grants or our book distribution programs or our training programs for early childhood providers. And then the third thing we do is entrepreneurial investments in business startups. And among that include a couple loan clients here in Cannon Falls that came to us some years ago. We're always open to more opportunities to help the EDA or a local bank make a loan to get a business started in our smaller towns in the region. And we do 25 to 30 small business loans annually. We also have a small equity fund. Our entrepreneurial work is what brings us in touch with the EDA here in your town. And our entrepreneurial work has also led us to take a really strong interest in local foods, which I know is becoming an increasing focus for your community. We think there's tremendous growth potential for that sector in our region. And one of the activities that's grown out of our local foods work is an annual Local Foods Feast Festival, which we've now helped to sponsor at the Rochester Civic Center. It'll be held on December 3rd this year between Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, but last year we had 1,500 visitors, and we had grocery bags so people can shop until they drop and take home that food for the holidays or take those local food items home as gifts. So we think it's a great event that's going to help to brand local foods as a part of our economy here in southern Minnesota. So that's just kind of an overview of what we've been up to lately. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present, and I'm not in the habit of putting my board members on the spot, but I'm certainly willing to let John Peterson come forward if he has any remarks he'd like to make about why he allowed us to convince him to join our board.
John, you didn't have enough to do?
The scars in my arm are still there. I'm always happy to have Tim Penny open for me. That's nice. No, I'll be really brief. A couple things that I was thinking about, as Tim mentioned. First was that I was a part of the Grow Cannon Falls group that sort of bubbled up just over a year ago now. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that we couldn't have had such successful Grow Cannon Falls events without the foundation support. I mean, they were at both of those events and really showcased an additional resource for folks looking at starting a business here in Cannon Falls. And then the second thing, I don't know, in the packet that Tim shared, I don't know how much information there is about our upcoming strategic plan. I was really fortunate to come on the board after all of the hard work had been done on developing a strategic plan. But one of the things that was really exciting for me as I did sit in that seat is that the focus moving forward is really going to be spotlighted on smaller communities of our size. We know that in the 20-county region there are big towns and small towns, but the focus of the foundation over the coming years is really going to be on communities of 5,000 and less. So Cannon Falls is really going to be in the wheelhouse of what the foundation is doing. So I think there's a tremendous amount of value and potential benefit for us here from the work that we're trying to do.
Yeah. See, we pick smart, articulate people to join our board. Cover some items I forgot to cover. We do raise about 10% of our budget locally, so of that $5 million, roughly $500,000 is raised within the 20-county region that we serve, and it comes from counties, cities, banks, corporations, and individuals. But the larger story is that 90% of the resources that we spend across this region are dollars that we're able to bring into the region. So we think that 10-to-1 ratio is a pretty good return on investment for southern Minnesota. So again, happy to answer any questions you might have, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to present.
Anybody have any questions for Tim while he's here this evening? If not, I mean, we'll go through it. Tim, I know you guys do a lot of good work throughout the southeastern Minnesota, and we appreciate all you do. I mean, we've got Small towns are needing all the help they can get, especially well, you being a past legislator, seeing what's going on up in St. Paul. A lot of things don't always go as we need them to. So,
Well, the nice thing about foundation work, at least in the way that we practice it, it's all about collaboration and partnership and leveraging. And every week we've got things we've gotten done that we can celebrate, but it's always done in partnership with others. And we do appreciate that not only John Peterson comes to our Feast Festival every year and promotes his business, but that Dave Maroney is there representing Cannon Falls and the local foods potential in this town. And I think it's good exposure for the community to be at that event every year.
local foods capital of Minnesota.
Yeah. You deserve to be. Anyway, thank you. Unless there are questions, I'll let you get on with your agenda.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to the consent agenda this evening. Items on this area of the agenda may be adopted or they may be removed and placed on the business area of the agenda for discussion purposes before approving. For the folks at home, I will read the consent agenda. Item A is the just and correct claims for accounting period ending September the 29th, 2016. Item B are the meeting minutes for the September 20th, 2016 City Council meeting. Item C is confirm Council Member C.R. Abadi's appointments to committees. Item D, application for payment number 5 for the 2016 street improvements. Is there any items anybody wishes to bring down this evening? If not, all those in, Chair will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Merle, second by Lynn. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, that moves us on to council business this evening, which is the winery liquor license application, and I will turn it over to Chief McCormick. And with the problems, it doesn't look like our stuff's opening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Trying to get the memo I prepared to load. There's having some trouble.
We're all having.
We're all having issues.
Okay.
So you're not the only
I
one.
don't feel so bad.
You got it? You came up?
No, it's all.
Yeah.
Perfect. If you recall, this was before council at your last meeting in September. I was not able to attend that meeting. Lieutenant Berg attended in my stead, and he briefed me on it and indicated that the council had tabled the matter for this meeting. In looking at the memo I prepared, I had a conversation with Dave Maroney, who spoke with the winery, and one of the concerns seemed to be the alleyway and adjacent to the winery's property and pedestrians, cars mixing, that type of thing. And so what I did was, after talking with him, we put in a component provision that would require them to give us 48 hours notice if they plan to utilize their patio area. Because it's adjacent to the city alleyway, we could then ensure that they have a proper plan to ensure the safety of the people that would be sitting there, as well as the flow of traffic. And they didn't seem to have any problems with that. It didn't sound like it would be something that would be utilized tremendously a lot. You know, they were thinking only a few times a year. But the permit or license application amendment is not specific to just a certain day, because they can't be granted temporary licenses. So it allows them, just like we do with the Mill Street Tavern, their licensed premises includes the patio area that's adjacent to the building on the west. Sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't for liquor things, but when they use it for that, then they close it off, similar to our sidewalk dining, where they rope it off, much like you see in other cities. So, council has any specific questions, I can try to address them. I think with those
Thank you.
provisions, it may help satisfy some of your concerns. Yes.
Okay, so I think there were two principal questions. One of them was about the frequency, and the other one was about the mechanics of it. How will it be blocked off? How will the protection of life and limb be accomplished? So the frequency, I understand, is sort of an unknown, and there's only one option, and that's to either grant it altogether, and then they'll touch base with you,
Yep.
or deny it altogether. So there's
Yep.
we're not going to decide their frequency for them today, and that's
Correct.
fine. But the mechanics part of it, what this council actually did last time was that we asked for clarification, and the minutes that we just approved indicated that we asked for clarification. And what this is, I think that the ultimate result of having law enforcement make the decision about how to erect the barriers and protect people is probably the exact right result. But that's delegation of what we were seeking in the last meeting, which was clarification of what the winery was actually planning and doing in that space.
Sure.
So,
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that they really can do almost anything in that space they want, absent the sale of liquor. So if they decided that they were going to set up a bouncy house, they could do that, and there wouldn't be anything the council would be able to do, provided it fit within the provisions of their property use. So the alleyway is just that, it's our alleyway. We can control our alleyway. We can't necessarily control their property way, if that makes sense.
well, I don't know where the boundary lies.
Well,
in that space.
basically, they have, it's 10 feet.
They have 21
Yeah,
feet maybe.
something like that, yes.
Essentially, if you look at the alleyway and assume that the alleyway is where the cars are driving,
Yeah,
that's ours.
and everything else.
Everything where the cars park now sometimes, that's theirs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing to remember is part of this is,
I understand. I do.
if they do use the,
recall of the area. but-
if they do that, I mean, from what I understand with talking with the winery, is that it's going to be for if they have an event where they're going to block off the whole parking lot access. I don't even call it an alleyway, I call it a parking lot access, because that's what it is. I mean, there's no name on the alley or anything like that, it's just an access.
That's why we can refer to it as an alleyway. Essentially, they have that property, then they also have lease agreement on the EDA property, which would be to their west. They'll be a Chevrolet building.
It's so nice to have a diagram.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's-
that said, so what I also understood in asking him further about this was that the vision is that if they request and they have, within the 48 hours, you guys would come down, have a conversation with them, and probably cordon off, set up the police sort of barricades like we do for parades.
We
that
would
just obstruct
probably
traffic completely.
look at and see what they're planning, are they planning to utilize the whole thing, are they utilizing only part of it, and then make an assessment. And it could be putting up cones, sort of to delineate and direct traffic through. It could be temporary restrictions of, one lane of that. It would really depend on how they were using it. In the manner that is coming soon, it would be adjoining that property that they have control of to the west and their property for one event. That's what I would envision, much as the mayor alluded to, that when they want to do something, I would envision them using it in that manner, more than just adding to their dining that's permitted now on the front sidewalk.
Yeah, I can't see that they're gonna be using this a lot. It would be something here and there after hearing everything, so it wouldn't be like an
I don't expect it
ongoing-
either.
I understand. I do.
Yeah.
The components of the mechanism is much less under our control. I can tell you, having worked with them, they are great to work with. They hire us to do their weddings when they have those types of events. And their staff is fabulous to work with. They always let us know ahead of time if there's something special need that's going to be needed for it. So I wouldn't expect that to change, especially adding the provision that they give us 48 hours notice of their intent to do something in that area. The last thing that I would expect they would want would be some sort of accident to occur that would be negative to impact their patrons.
Of course.
As well as the motoring public through there.
I mean, with that said, I mean, you guys did a good job of not hitting anybody when you went through there the other day in the chase.
There wasn't anybody else like dining.
Well,
We'll explain that in a minute. Let's finish this piece of business here. Okay, is there any other discussion? If not, the chair will take a motion to approve the winery liquor license application submitted.
So moved.
I have a motion by Morris, a second by Merle. Any further discussion?
Does this affect any of the, supposedly I've heard that there's new owners, does it affect being under new ownership or anything?
New owners, if and when that is finalized, the point that they're going to need to take action on the license, you would actually see a whole license
That's why I was
application
just
going
wondering
forward
if
from
it's
them, and they
the
would
whole-
define what their premise would be and all of that.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. That moves us on to reports, and Mr. Anderson.
Just a quick note, the street project is by and large wrapped up. The big work is done. They're working on some punch list cleanup work here. If anybody has anything, let City Hall know. Jake is on vacation for a week and a half while we're spending the summer out there. So the completion date's this Friday. I think they're going to meet it. Everything needs to be done, with the exception of signs, which will be done here shortly, is done. And now it's just getting the final numbers together for the assessment hearing and just finishing up any minor issues, cracked sidewalk here, broken curb, some sod and stuff like that. So that's where we're at with the project.
Yep, drove through there yesterday, looked nice on that side of town.
Green and black now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Greg. Chief?
Instead of everybody running up there. Tim Penny mentioned the flooding from 2010. If you recall, we also dealt with a flooding event in 2012. I got an email from Linnell this evening, at late afternoon, that we have received our final FEMA payment on our 2012 event. So I'm very pleased to see that come in. It finally closes that out for us. The good news is that the flooding that we just had, I don't think is going to be significant enough that's going to have us having to need FEMA funds. But if it is, we've already started the documentation and preparation just in case. We really won't know until the Cannon River gets down, so we can start inspecting the infrastructure along the banks of the river to see if we've suffered any damage that needs repair. We'll be monitoring that.
And just before you move forward on that, I'd just like to say thanks to the police department, to Public Works, to the kids from the high school and all that helped to sandbag earlier this year. I was over there throwing a couple bags around myself. But I'd just like to say thanks to all of you. When we have events like this, it takes the whole community to come together to make sure that we take care of each other. So I'd just like to say thanks to everybody, Public Works, Sentenced to Serve. If I miss anybody, you can remind me later. But I just want to say thanks because at least we didn't get hit too hard this time. I got pictures of the sewer bridge. I know we're still working on trying to get that able to go underneath the river, and we'll keep working on legislation for that. Did the geological guys ever get their $30,000 piece of equipment?
I don't know if they recovered it or not. They came back on Monday and wanted to go out on the bridge to look for it. I saw it there that day, but I did not see it on Monday. But I haven't heard. Apparently they lose quite a bit of those. They carried an extra one with them. So I have to assume that it happens on a frequent enough basis that they always have a spare.
They did say it wasn't. They did say it wasn't the first time.
Yeah, they did tell me that, and we asked them if they had GPS on them, and they said no. So they said that a lot of times they just end up washing ashore a mile or two downstream, and then somebody eventually will call and say, hey, I found this weird looking thing that has your sticker on it.
So if anybody finds it, give us a call here, give Jeff a call at the police department, and we'll get it back to
Kind
him.
of blue and white, almost like a submarine looking device. It's a Doppler radar unit that they use to measure exact readings on the river during these types of events. And as the mayor alluded to, a lot of people came out and helped, and we certainly appreciate that. We planned for the worst, hope for the best, and in this case, everything worked out really well for us. We were prepared for it, but we didn't really get beyond sort of our green space flooding, so we're very happy with that.
Greg Anderson mentioned about the special assessment for the West Side 2. We'll be presenting, or at least our intention is to present a resolution at the next regular council meeting to set the public hearing for, it'll be the second meeting in November, for the final assessment hearing. And we'll be working on the final assessment amounts. You received an email from a resident related to some condos, and Greg and I are going to look into that. I've spoken with our city attorney, we'll be looking into that. Have some, either a recommendation or a couple options for you on those condos at that time. And they'll be mailed a specific notice, what their specific amount is, at least 2 weeks prior to that hearing. So we'll be working on that in the meantime. But my thanks go to Greg and Jake on that project. Jake's the inspector. That project went the smoothest that I've seen of any project go in many, more than a couple of years that I've been in this business. The residents were really good to work with, and the contractor really stepped up to the plate on a couple issues that we had. They supported us in going to bat and getting stuff done for us. So it was really, overall, we had very few complaints. I think we actually have more complaints than complaints, which is, that was really special. But thank you.
Merle?
Nothing.
Cedar?
Nothing.
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing.
I guess this Wednesday is Walk to School Day.
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So
7,
from the
7:15,
parking
7:20,
lot
somewhere in there, I think, is a
then
drop-off.
to Mill Street and then Minnesota Street. So maybe it's a good idea maybe for people if they could just not go in that area.
Well, yeah, I mean, they may
it
see
just
a slight
helps.
delay.
Yeah.
We'll be escorting. They may see some slight delay, you know,
Yeah.
it's the same route we've used in the past.
Yeah.
But the kids sort of start off really grouped up tight, where they all fit in one block. And sort of towards the end, they cover 2, maybe 2.5 blocks. So myself, Lieutenant Berg, and our day officer tomorrow, Marcus, will be leapfrogging the different intersections to stop traffic and get all of our walkers, whether students or parents, across and then to the school. I know they're going to have some healthy snacks there, and then at the high school, and then the elementary kids will walk down to the elementary school as well. So it's a good time for the kids. We enjoy it. We get to visit with the kids a lot during that event. But it may inconvenience a few for ordering people, public visiting folks.
Yep, I'll be there tomorrow morning. I did it last year, and it was fun bringing up the rear with some of the kids trying to lollygag, not wanting to get us. Can we be late? Can we be late? And I said, no, keep going, boys, get going. You know, but it's a lot of fun to visit with the kids and talk to them a little bit, find out what they've got going on and how school's going. So I'll be there tomorrow morning to escort them to school tomorrow. So be a lot of fun. And other than that, that's all I've got for this evening. So unless anybody else has anything else,
I
I'll take a
forgot
motion
one
to
thing.
adjourn.
Since Dave's not here, the planning commission is not planning on meeting on Monday. The next meeting will be November 14th.
Okay.
Thanks.
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Yeah.